Shalom and welcome to Rabbi Gavriel's teaching on the Didache. What is the Didache? It's written D-I-D-A-C-H-E. It comes from a Hebrew word, from a Greek word, meaning the teaching. The longer name of this document is the teachings of the 12 disciples to the Gentiles. So, and it became the Didache, the teaching. So, and I've been going through a series of lessons, teachings about it. Now, where does that document come from? When people say that, it is actually a document that the disciples wrote in order to fulfill the mission that they were sent to teach about the coming kingdom of God to the Gentiles. You see, before Yeshua ascended to his Father, he commissioned the disciples with, go into all the world and proclaim the arrival of the kingdom of heaven to the whole creation. They were supposed to leave Israel, go away and teach Gentiles, for the most part, people who had no idea about Judaism. They didn't know about monotheism, they didn't know about food restrictions, they didn't know anything. So not only these disciples were raised within traditional Judaism, but they had just spent 3 years learning from a radical rabbi who was changing, I would say not changing, but simplifying practice. And this practice of Judaism, this Messianic practice of Judaism, was supposed to spread around the world. That was no small undertaking they were asked to do. So you got to realize these disciples who have certain ways of eating, observe a certain calendar, have reservations about certain sexual practices, as well as idolatry, as well as with idolatry. They were going to go to countries that had no notion about any of these things. Many of them actually resorted to vegetarianism or veganism, or eating fish, eggs, grains, vegetable, because kosher has a lot to do with red meat. So how were they going to teach everything? It's impossible. I mean, the Torah itself takes a lifetime to learn, and we can't learn it. And even at the end of the book of John, it is written that if someone were to write what Yeshua said and did during his time on earth, there would not be enough books to write it. And here now the disciples, they were supposed to go out and teach. What were they going to do? How were they going to do it? The Didache gives us a good idea of what it is they taught. The way I look at the Didache is the disciples' takeaway from their time with the Master. It's very daunting to be asked to teach Torah to people who are ignorant of it. You got to simplify it. You got to take the main substance of it and bring it. To me, the Didache represent the disciples' takeaway from their time with Yeshua. What stood out to them? What were the most important things that they were going to teach? Were there particular rituals? Were there particular practices? Would they convey the ethical teachings? What is it? What is their takeaway? And to me, that's how I look at the Didache. So they wrote this document as a form of constitution for establishing congregations in Gentile lands. So I think this document is quite important for us. The text was lost for a while, but later on, through the writings, but later on, scholars knew about it through some of the writings of other people who talked about it. But in 1873, in Istanbul, Metropolitan Philotheos Bryennios found a Greek copy of the Didache, written in 1056, and he published it in 1883. It was later translated in English. So, the Didache is a brief, anonymous early treatise dated by most modern scholars to the 1st century. It provides a window into the teachings and lifestyles of the early disciples. It tells us what they felt was the most important things that they learned that they had to pass on. Now, in these podcasts or video blogs that I will be making, and I am making, of this Didache, about this Didache, I help myself from the beautiful commentary put together by Toby Janicki, and which is called The Way of Life. It's a beautiful work. Because while there has been a plethora of commentaries written on the Didache, some have written from the standpoint of traditional Judaism, and some have been written from the standpoint of Catholicism or Protestantism. This book called The Way of Life is the only one on the Didache written from the standpoint of Messianic Judaism, which is what it was all about anyway. I hope you will enjoy the podcasts. Shalom.